Long-distance boyfriend Ryan discovered that he could only learn about my recent life from other people. My best friend posted a photo of us together, and only then did he find out I had cut my hair short. A friend congratulated him on becoming a landlord, and only then did he find out I had paid the down payment on my own. Even when I went to his city on a business trip, he only found out because he ran into me by chance at the mall. Ryan frowned in confusion. Why didn't you tell me you were coming here? Didn't you used to look forward to seeing me the most? I brushed him off instinctively. I've been busy with work. I don't have time. He froze. Clearly. Half a month ago, I was still the person who, just to see him once, would rather quit my job and sit through an 8-hour high-speed rail ride without feeling tired. Chapter 1. When I ran into Ryan at the mall, I was calling my best friend, making plans to meet her that evening. Well, did the sun rise from the west today? Didn't you used to say that whenever you came to U City, you would only spend time with your boyfriend? I laughed at her tone. I promise. I'm here on a 1-week business trip this time, and I absolutely won't see him. My best friend let out an exaggerated whoa, not believing me. After all, I had once almost quit my million-a-year job just to see Ryan once. I had just finished swearing up and down to my best friend. The moment I turned the corner, someone suddenly grabbed my wrist. Why are you here again? Didn't we just see each other half a month ago? I looked at the person in front of me blankly. I froze for 2 seconds. Only then did I recognize him. Ryan's outfits had always been styled by me. Crisp shirts and dress pants. Professional and reliable. But now he was wearing an off-white hoodie. The slightly childish student-like outfit made his usual sense of distance vanish completely. Ryan raised his wrist to check the time. When he looked at me again, he did not look like a lover reunited after a long separation, but rather like a doctor looking at an ordinary patient waiting in line. I still have to be on duty this afternoon. I don't have time to keep you company. Next time you come, remember to tell me in advance. I cut him off. Who said I came to see you? You're overthinking it. I don't have time either. Ryan froze. Didn't you look forward to seeing me the most? The old me, even if I was only transferring through his city and had just 4 hours, I would still rush over to see him. I once worked overtime for 5 days straight and delivered a project early, just to make it in time for his day off. But now, if we had not run into each other by chance, he would never have known I had come. There's no need for you to act out of spite. Dr. Ryan is very busy and exhausted every day. Laura, who was beside Ryan, suddenly spoke. If you don't understand him, that's one thing, but you even came here without a word. Now Dr. Ryan has to spend his precious rest time keeping you company. I stared at Laura's solemn face. She was also wearing a hoodie, and it looked like hers and Ryan's were a couple's outfit. Not far away, a clothing store had a bright red banner that read, "Couples 50% off." I smiled without really smiling. He doesn't have time to keep me company, but he has time to go shopping with you? Laura lifted her chin slightly, her expression righteous. Miss Fiona, you don't need to misunderstand. Dr. Ryan usually dresses too formally, and patients can easily feel nervous. I suggested that he wear something softer, so I came with him to pick out clothes. I also liked this one, and the store happened to have a couple's discount. I only did it to save money. I'm different from someone like you. Your family is well off, and you never look at the price when you buy things. I don't have my family backing me up, so I have to split every penny in half. You don't need to be so suspicious and sensitive. I laughed completely. What does what he wears have to do with you? Are you his girlfriend or his mother? You're so good at saving money that you save it on someone else's boyfriend. Huh? You really know how to live frugally. Laura's face flushed red. Ryan tightened his grip on my hand and softened his tone to coax me. It's understandable that you're angry because I don't have time to keep you company, but it's not right to take it out on someone else. She just wanted to save some money. How about this? I'll ask for leave right away and keep you company this afternoon, okay? I suddenly found it all meaningless and shook him off hard. I don't have time. I already said I didn't come to see you. Do you not understand plain language? This time, Ryan was completely stunned. Chapter 2. This was the 4th year of our long-distance relationship. It was truly hard. Every month, I would come to U City to see Ryan. That only made 12 meetings a year, We had agreed to take turns video calling every day, even if we were too busy. We had to say goodnight before hanging up. I could not remember when it began. When Ryan called me, the name Laura started appearing frequently in his mouth. The nurse assigned to me is so clumsy. She tried drawing blood several times and still couldn't get the needle into the vein. She's actually quite kind. She secretly feeds cafeteria braised pork to stray cats. I accidentally heard the director mention that her family is quite poor. She took out loans to go to college, just like I did back then, but she wasn't as lucky as I was. The luckiest thing in my life was meeting you in college. I did not take it seriously. I only thought she was an ordinary subordinate. A month ago, Ryan went on a business trip and told me in advance that he would not be able to make our goodnight call. It was not until his colleague called me and said he had been hospitalized that I found out the city he had gone to on business was mine. It was not because he was preparing a surprise. It was because he had never intended to tell me at all. I was too busy and didn't get around to telling you. Besides, I wouldn't be staying long anyway. There was no need to make you go through the trouble. To him, meetings seemed to have become a burden and a drag, while I was lost in thought. The pork rib soup in my hand was suddenly knocked away. A woman who looked like a nurse opened her own thermos lunchbox and glared at me. Dr. Ryan is hospitalized with stomach pain. He can't eat greasy food. She bustled around. She looked exactly like the lady of the house. The apple one peeled for Ryan. She threw away, saying I had not washed my hands according to the 7-step hand-washing method and that it was not clean. When I watched the 4-drip rate, she said I was an outsider who did not understand and told me not to get in the way. I went out to use the bathroom. When I came back, I saw the two of them laughing nonstop in perfect sync. Ryan knew I was not interested in medicine, so he explained, "It's about work." But she insisted on adding, "Even if we told you, you wouldn't understand." I was full of anger. What kind of caregiver acts like you? You're fired. She froze, then held her head high. I'm a nurse who graduated from a proper medical school, not some cheap caregiver. Only then did I find out that she was Laura. Clearly, she had crossed the line, and Ryan had indulged her. Emotional drifting in a long-distance relationship was all too common. I had once thought we were the exception and would not have a bad ending. If before, I could still hold on to a trace of hope and deceive myself into thinking I was being too sensitive and suspicious, then the matter of pretending to be a couple completely punctured my fantasy. I bought a gift for my best friend at the mall, and picked up the suit I had previously had custom made. After having just one meal with my best friend, I threw myself into work without stopping. After days of overtime and getting caught in the rain, I ended up burning with fever straight into the hospital. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. The person drawing my blood was Laura. When she tied the tourniquet, she used excessive force. She inserted the needle several times but still could not find the vein, and frightening bruises spread across my cold pale skin. I lost my patience. "I want another nurse." Laura showed not the slightest guilt, her tone righteous. "The hospital isn't run by your family. Medical resources are limited, and there are other patients waiting. Please don't waste time." I laughed in fury. "Your technique is this awful. I have the right to ask for another nurse." Laura lifted her head, her face stubborn. "Please don't insult my ability." You kept moving around, so of course I couldn't get the needle in. I could not be bothered to waste words and press the call bell. But the person who came was Ryan. Chapter 3. Why didn't you tell me you were sick? The moment Ryan saw me, his expression changed, and he rushed over in quick strides. His fingers gently supported my arm, and his voice carried an uncontrollable ache. "How did you get hurt like this? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I sneered. "Unqualified technique." And then she shifts the blame onto the patient. "Is this the quality of nurses at your hospital? Just wait to be reported." Laura's eyes reddened, and she bit her lip. "Miss Fiona, I know you hate me. A rich young lady like you, from a good family, of course wouldn't understand my difficulties and hardships. They've been evaluating candidates for the Outstanding Nurse Award lately. This is very important to me. I'm alone in this city, with no one to rely on. Every penny has to be earned by myself, and every road can only be walked by myself." I cut her off impatiently. "What does that have to do with me?" Ryan asked a nurse to bring an ice pack and a towel, then gently bandaged me. But the words he said made half my heart turn cold. The bruises will heal in a week at most. They won't leave scars. Her technique is actually decent. She was probably just too nervous today. If you file this complaint, all her hard work will go to waste. It really isn't easy for a young girl to struggle on her own in a big city. So don't make things difficult for her, okay? Laura raised her hand and wiped away her tears. Her chin lifted slightly, as if she had finally received a fair verdict. In the past, if my finger got a tiny cut from a piece of paper, Ryan would feel distressed for half a day. While putting a bandage on me, he would blame the paper for being so sharp. But now, he was feeling sorry for the person who had hurt me. I clenched my fingers, my chest feeling as if something had blocked it. But my voice turned cold. Call your director over, the two of you. I'm reporting you both. Laura's expression was righteous. I did this myself, so I'll take responsibility myself. Don't make things difficult for Dr. Ryan. Even if you're his girlfriend, you can't bully people like this. In her agitation, she waved her hand. The bottle of iodophor was knocked over, spilling entirely onto the custom-made suit worth $60,000 by the bedside. Amid the mess, I slowly spoke. These are the clothes I need to wear to meet a client. You ruined them. Laura froze for 1 second, then immediately stiffened her neck. If you hadn't deliberately made things difficult for me and Dr. Ryan, how would I have knocked it over by accident? In the end, you only have yourself to blame. I picked up my phone. Go explain that to the police. Wait! Laura turned her face away, her tone carrying a kind of condescending magnanimity. At the end of the day, the fault lies with you. You know that in your heart. But you threatened me with my job, and I don't have power or money like you do, so I can only accept it. It's just a piece of clothing. I'll compensate you. How much? I looked at her leisurely and said each word clearly. 60,000. Laura's righteous expression froze on her face. She instantly panicked, her voice sharp. Impossible. How could a piece of clothing possibly be that expensive? Who are you trying to fool? You rich people are always like this, using money to crush others at every turn. I interrupted her, enunciating each word. Pay, or should I call the police? Chapter 4. Laura ran away crying. Ryan did not chase after her. He looked at me, wanting to speak but stopping himself. I ignored him and went straight to the nurse's station to file a complaint against Laura. That evening, Ryan took me out to dinner. As usual, he asked gently about how I had been recently. How have you been lately? Fine. What have you been busy with? The usual things. Ryan paused for a moment, then smiled. Why didn't you tell me you cut your hair short? If I hadn't seen that photo in your moments, I wouldn't have known. And you haven't been taking the initiative to chat with me lately. Our goodnight video calls have been stopped for a long time too. I'm busy with work. I don't have time. 3 sentences killed the conversation. In the past, every time we met, I had endless things to say. From how annoying the new leader at the company was, to how especially cute a cat on the road had been. I could talk about trivial little things over and over for half a day. I wished I could pour out an entire month's worth of words to him all at once. Now, I only lowered my head and ate. For years of long-distance love, from the first thing I did every day when I opened my eyes being to send him a message, to not even saying 10 sentences in a month, from wanting to tell him first whenever anything happened, to him becoming the last person to know, from having endless things to talk about when we met, to having nothing to say. It had taken only half a month. Ryan was silent for a long while, then held my hand. I'm sorry, I've been so busy with work because I wanted to end our long-distance situation sooner, but I neglected your feelings. My parents did not agree with me marrying far away, so Ryan planned to buy a home in Jing City. After his parents found out, they were furious and refused to provide him any support no matter what. Ryan said, I've been looking at private hospitals in Jing City recently. A few have already sent me interview invitations. Once my work stabilizes, we can start looking at houses. In other words, he deliberately made his tone sound casual, but the end of his sentence still could not help rising. We won't have to be long distance anymore. I froze. This was the future I had once looked forward to the most, but now that it was within reach, we seemed to have already lost each other. Didn't you want to keep cats? When the time comes, We can install a cat climbing frame on the balcony wall, then put a hammock by the window so they can sunbathe. Speaking of cats, he paused, as if suddenly remembering something, and changed the topic. Laura likes cats too. She often secretly feeds the stray cats behind the hospital. She's actually a pretty good person. She just isn't very good with words. 60,000 yuan might just be the price of one coat to you, but it could be a whole year's living expenses for her. She's different from you. Her family background isn't good. Her student loans aren't paid off yet. And after paying rent every month, there isn't much left from her salary. I know you hate her, but things really aren't easy for her. I also made it step by step on my own, so I can understand her. Every word and every sentence was all about Laura. I had never imagined that Ryan would bring up another girl in practically every sentence. I put down my chopsticks. You know I hate her, but you still bring her up. What are you trying to say? Ryan pressed his lips together helplessly. You've always had a bit of a temper. I spoiled you, so I accept it. And that's only natural, but you can't direct it at outsiders, right? Cancel the complaint. She'll have the suit dry cleaned and return it to you. And then you can apologize to her. Every time he took her side, it wore away my love for him. So when I heard those words, I did not feel sad, only lingering anger. I spoke calmly. She made a mistake at work. I have no obligation to tolerate it. I only asked her to compensate me for the suit and didn't pursue lost work costs or emotional damages. That already counts as kind of me. Besides, what does whether things are easy for her have to do with me? Can saying it isn't easy erase her mistakes? If a doctor treats someone to death, can they just say things aren't easy for me and be done with it? Ryan froze. It was as if I had suddenly become someone he did not know. Refusing to give an inch, aggressive and unforgiving. The old me might have been willing to give him face, unwilling to let an outsider affect our relationship. But the current him was also an outsider to me. I stared at Ryan and said each word clearly. The complaint and the compensation are impossible to cancel. Also, let's break up. Chapter 5. The sudden ringing of his phone drowned out my voice. Laura's tearful voice rang out. Ryan, my outstanding nurse award is gone. I worked hard for so long, and with one casual sentence from someone else, it was cancelled. I don't understand why fate is always so harsh to poor people. 60,000 yuan is nothing more than one piece of clothing to Fiona, but it can crush someone who has no family support. I've come this whole way relying on myself for everything. I don't steal or rob. I live uprightly. Why should I deserve to be inferior to those who rely on their parents? I, Laura, may be poor, but I have dignity. I'd rather die than be humiliated like this. It's really cold on the Cross River Bridge. But compared with all the cold looks and contempt I've endured over the years, what does this bit of cold even count for? The sound of roaring wind came from the receiver. Ryan's expression changed drastically, and he immediately stood up and walked outside. Don't do anything impulsive. It's just one piece of clothing. Don't think of doing something stupid. I called out to stop him. Wait. Ryan stopped and looked at me, for the first time. His expression carried irritation and disappointment. This isn't the time for you to throw a tantrum. She's already standing on the bridge. Can you stop targeting her? Fiona, the next time we meet, I hope the kind and considerate you from before will come back, instead of this version of you who relies on your background to bully someone who has nothing. Ryan had clearly misunderstood. I had called out to stop him because I wanted him to pay the bill. As for meeting again, we would never meet again. But before I could speak, he had already left in a hurry. Chapter 6. 3 days later, I received the 60,000 yuan Laura transferred to me. I don't owe you anything. I'm not like you. I earn money with my own hands, honestly and uprightly. The other side sent over a rant that filled a full 3 screens. The general meaning was that I had merely been lucky, born into a good family. So what was there for me to be so arrogant about? She had walked step by step to where she was today on her own. There was an essential difference between us. I could use money to pressure her, but in her eyes, I was nothing at all. What was she babbling about? Reading too many words made me dizzy. So after I accepted the money, I blocked her, before returning to Jing City. My best friend accompanied me to a follow-up checkup and to get medicine. She sighed. I had even thought about what I'd wear to your wedding. How did even the two of you break up? Are long-distance relationships doomed to have a bad ending? I did not answer and turned to ask the director about the result of the complaint. The director froze, looking at me as if I were a patient with memory loss. Didn't you cancel it? Dr. Ryan said you misunderstood Nurse Laura. The two of you had already settled it privately. And he also said you felt Nurse Laura was especially serious about her work and suggested giving her the recommendation spot for the Outstanding Nurse Award. My best friend grabbed me and stormed angrily to Ryan's consultation room. The door was ajar. Laura was biting her lip, looking somewhat embarrassed. Ryan, I'll pay you back the 60,000 yuan as soon as possible. I've already applied for night shifts. There are subsidies during the day. I've also found a part-time job, even if I have to wait tables. I'll pay you back. I'm not like Fiona, relying on her family. I can only save up little by little. I had not expected that the money had come from Ryan. His daily life was usually very simple. He avoided entertainment activities. And if he could walk, he would not take a car. Also, he could save enough for the down payment as soon as possible and end our long-distance relationship sooner. But now, he was paying Laura's debt for her. It meant that Laura had already become more important than ending our long-distance relationship. The future he had promised me, he had given to someone else first. My best friend was so furious that she was about to push open the door right then. I held her back and shook the phone screen that was recording. Ryan sighed. The next time you see Fiona, apologize to her. She isn't an unreasonable person. As long as your attitude is better, it'll be fine. There's no rush with the money. Take care of your health. Don't overwork yourself. Go back to work. But Laura did not leave. She stiffened her neck and suddenly said, Fiona doesn't love you at all. Ryan froze. What? You're working so hard to save money. But every time she comes to see you, she eats at restaurants that cost 200 per person. You're giving everything desperately. And she's only responsible for enjoying it. Do you think that's fair? Ryan frowned, his tone sinking. She works hard too, every month. She crosses more than 2,000 kilometers to see me. And she gave up the animation work she loved to do sales she doesn't like. We had originally agreed to take turns going to each other's cities. It was because I felt sorry for Ryan having to travel back and forth that I took the initiative to see him every time. Ryan would buy a ticket for one extra stop to escort me to the high-speed rail gate. His eyes read as he said he would never let me suffer again. When the high-speed rails started moving, he chased after the train until the end of the platform. Laura sneered. She comes here sitting comfortably on transportation. How is that suffering? When you stay up late working overtime and desperately save money. Has she ever thought about you? She hasn't given anything. Ryan lowered his voice a little. Her family conditions are good. Why should she be pampered for more than 20 years and then marry me only to suffer? Her parents originally didn't agree. She was the one who persuaded them. As long as I can settle down in Jing City, it proves that I have the ability to take care of her. This was a decision we made together. You don't understand. So don't make random judgments. Laura's eyes reddened on their own. Twisting her hands together, she lifted her head. If she really loved you, she would marry you regardless of everything. Instead of saying she had to listen to her parents and using them as a shield. If she really loved you, she would come to your city, instead of making you follow her. If she really loved you, she wouldn't find some sales job just to coast through life. To put it bluntly, you're the one desperately fighting ahead, while she waits behind for everything to be handed to her. She paused, her voice carrying a kind of righteous pride. If it were me, as long as I loved him, I would marry him even without a house or a car. The two of us would struggle together and put down roots in this city, instead of waiting until he had prepared everything before I comfortably married over to enjoy the good life. I did not know which sentence touched Ryan. This time, he did not refute her again. He lowered his eyes, and no one knew what he was thinking. My heart chilled bit by bit. Chapter 7. Ryan's plan was to first gain experience at a public tertiary hospital in U City, then jump to a private hospital in Jing City. My plan was to save enough money to pay for a house in full, pretend Ryan had earned it, and make my parents relent. For this, I gave up the industry I loved and switched careers to B2B sales. In 4 years, I became a sales director. One could imagine how much hardship I had endured. I only reported the good news and not the bad because I did not want him to feel burdened. If not for Laura, I should already have been telling him excitedly. that I had saved enough. Laura was still speaking. Ryan, I'm a straightforward person, and I might offend Fiona, but for your sake, I have no choice but to say this. I kicked the door open. The two of them looked over at the sound. Ryan's expression changed slightly. Fiona, why are you here? Laura instinctively straightened her 160-centimeter body and lifted her head even higher, like a peacock unwilling to admit defeat. That made it perfectly convenient for me. At 170 centimeters tall, I stretched out my hand halfway, then held back. What if she tried to extort me? But I could not take back the hand I had already extended, so I turned and slapped Ryan across the face. Chapter 8. Laura suddenly shoved me away and rushed in panic to look at Ryan's face, tears falling from distress. You lunatic! Ryan treats you so well. How could you treat him like this? My best friend steadied me, and the anger she had been holding back was ignited all at once. What position are you speaking from? And you keep saying it's for Dr. Ryan's good. Do you think everyone else is blind and can't see through your little schemes? You want to take a shortcut but package it as love. Stepping on someone else to raise yourself up. Even a manure truck couldn't hold as much filth as you do. Ryan frowned. Enough. My best friend immediately aimed her fire at him. She's shameless. And you're blind. Huh? Do you really think Fiona marrying you means she gets to enjoy an easy life? I told her long ago not to marry you just to do charity. Do you know how hard she's worked for you all these years? She got into a car accident and still got up to keep meeting clients. She drank until she vomited blood and still had to keep drinking. She worked year-round without rest. And when she finally had one day off, she still had to travel all the way here to see you. And the key point is, she gets airsick every time she flies. She vomits half to death. And taking the high-speed rail takes several hours at the very least. How many times has she fought with her parents because of you? Her parents were so angry they said they didn't have a daughter like her and told her not to come home anymore. You don't mention any of that, do you? Your hardship counts as hardship, but hers counts as enjoying life? Ryan stood frozen in place, as if he had been slapped hard across the face. He opened his mouth but could not say a single word. He only stared fixedly at me, the guilt in his eyes almost overflowing. Just then, Laura suddenly lifted a scalpel and held it against her neck. I would rather die than be insulted by you like this. Dr. Ryan and I are completely innocent. I'm only telling the truth. You can argue and curse at me, but I absolutely won't accept being slandered. My best friend sneered. People like you are the craftiest. You keep saying you'll die, but in reality, you cherish your life more than anyone. If you actually cut down, I'll at least admit you have guts. If you're going to act, at least commit to the role. Laura abruptly slashed her arm, her voice trembling. Are you satisfied now? Ryan's expression changed drastically. He turned back to look at me, his tone urgent. Fiona, make your best friend apologize to her. Let this matter end here, okay? I looked at him coldly. Dream on. Ryan softened his voice. Fiona, I know marriage is what you've been looking forward to the most. I've already received an offer. If I accept it, I can marry you this year. If you apologize today, I'll accept this offer. From now on, we'll never have to be long distance again. Laura's eyes were red, but every word she said was firm and forceful. Dr. Ryan, you don't have to accept a job you don't like for my sake. I'm not the kind of person who just lies behind someone else and lets others settle everything for me. I did not speak. In my mind, the scene of Ryan accompanying me to meet my parents suddenly surfaced. That year, he was 26, freshly graduated with his doctorate, sitting on the sofa in my house and swearing to my parents word by word. I will first get promoted to associate chief physician at a public tertiary hospital, then move to a private hospital. Within 5 years, I will make $1 million a year. I want to marry Fiona through my own efforts. I will prove to you that I am not just saying it. I truly want to spend my whole life with her. Now, everything had changed. I spoke softly. I was wrong. Ryan visibly breathed a sigh of relief. Good. Then let this matter end here. But Laura refused to let it go, anxiously tugging at his sleeve. Ryan, she slapped you. How can you let her off so easily? You don't have to wrong yourself for my sake. Ryan pulled his hand back. This is between Fiona and me. It has nothing to do with you. I smiled and finished what I had not said. I was wrong not to break up with you sooner. Ryan froze. I continued speaking word by word, and his face turned paler with every word. I should have decisively broken up with you the very first time you mentioned Laura. Chapter 9. I packaged the recording together with the complaint materials and submitted them to the hospital's discipline inspection office. If you still don't handle it this time, I'll report your entire hospital to the higher authorities. After returning to Jing City, the company happened to ask whether I was willing to take over the overseas market and be promoted to general manager of the overseas business division. I went over to take a look and was satisfied with both the work content and the environment, considering that I would be staying there for a long time in the future. I immediately decided to buy a home. After my parents learned about the breakup, they were silent for a long time. My father sighed. Back then, I said I wouldn't allow you to marry far away and that he could only buy a home in Jing City because I wanted Ryan to retreat in the face of difficulty. I pointed out two paths for him. One was to stay at a public hospital in Jing City. The factions there are serious, and it's very hard for someone without background to rise, but it would be relatively easy. The other was to go to U City, where everything depends on personal ability, but it's hard and exhausting. After grinding for a few years, he could come back as a private doctor. I didn't expect Ryan to choose U City. My mother felt a little guilty. If we hadn't pressured him so much back then and you two hadn't been long distance, would things not have? I interrupted her. Mom, it wasn't long distance that tore us apart. It was long distance that made me see clearly how he took my efforts for granted. He chose U City not because you forced him, but because he knew in his heart that path suited him best. He did it for his own future, not for me. He should be thanking you instead. The fact that he got to where he is now is thanks to the path you pointed out back then. Otherwise, with his understanding at the time, he might never have known such a path existed. My parents froze. After a long while, they looked at each other and smiled, relieved and comforted. You're right. Before, we could never bear to see you suffer. We wanted you to live an easy life, but we never expected that people's hearts could change. From now on, whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it boldly. Your mom and dad will support you. Before I officially took office, the company gave me a month of paid leave, so I stayed at home to keep my parents company. Every day, we chatted, picked vegetables, took walks, and lived plainly, until one day, when I went out and discovered that the place across from us was moving. After casually chatting, I found out that the neighbor had sold the apartment. The neighbor said happily, I ran into a total sucker. I only listed this place casually to test the waters. I didn't really want to sell it. Who knew someone would actually buy it? He was especially eager to buy. So eager that I thought he was a scammer. If I hadn't known the other party worked at a hospital, I wouldn't have dared to sell it. My eyelid twitched. Sure enough, that night, I saw a familiar figure. Chapter 10. Fiona. I've already bought a home and started working at the private hospital here. According to the promise from back then, I can finally marry you. It had only been a short month since the day we broke up. Ryan had lost weight, and there was exhaustion beneath his eyes that could not be hidden. Over this past month, he had been busy resigning and handing over his work, then starting his new job, busy buying a home and taking out a mortgage, busy moving, busy planning the wedding with wedding companies. He brought a thick stack of proposals and spoke as if nothing had happened that day. You like small lawn weddings? I contacted several wedding companies. Take a look and see which kind of setup you like. Let's set the wedding for autumn. Didn't you say you liked autumn the most? I've already looked at several wedding dress shops. When you have time, we can go try them on. I've also gone to rescue centers and pet stores. Take a look and see which one you like. We'll raise one together. In the past, I had imagined countless times the day our long-distance relationship would end and we could be together day and night. I thought we would definitely film an MVP-style victory recap video, paired with all the train and plane tickets we had saved over the years, and the two of us would cry in each other's arms. But how could the me from many years ago have imagined that when this day truly arrived, everything would already have changed? I interrupted his rambling and calmly reminded him, Ryan, we broke up. He paused, his eyes reddened abruptly, and he suddenly erupted. I don't agree. From university until now, 10 years of feelings, and you say we're done just like that? Fiona, how can you be so cruel? Do you know how hard I've worked for you all these years? For the past 10 years. I've only slept 6 hours a day. I studied and worked desperately, cut down on all entertainment activities, and saved as much money as possible. Also, I could marry you. But now, you say you don't want me, and you just throw me away. Ryan's shoulders trembled slightly, and tears slid down silently. I suddenly remembered our junior year of university. I went abroad on exchange, and during the first week overseas, I was especially lonely. I cried when we talked on the phone at night and said I missed him. One day, 2 months later, I opened the door to my apartment and saw a living, breathing Ryan standing at the entrance, facing the sunlight, his eyes curved into a smile. Surprise inspection. During the days I wasn't here, did you take good care of yourself? He had worked part-time like crazy for 2 months, got a visa, and bought a plane ticket. He plunged into the kitchen, washing vegetables, chopping vegetables, washing dishes, sweeping the floor, and pressing me, who wanted to help, back onto the sofa. Go lie down. Your boyfriend is here, and you still want to do chores? He had prepared a travel guide in advance and took me around. You're usually busy with classes and probably don't have time to go out. I checked ahead of time. You should like these places. Before he left, he put a red envelope under my pillow. I can't be by your side on New Year's Eve, so take it as an early New Year's gift. When we parted, we hugged each other and cried. Only later did I learn that he had left himself only enough money for one plane ticket, and gave me all the money left from his part-time jobs. But that was 20-year-old Ryan. I steadied my breathing, my voice very soft. Ryan, you value money so much and saved desperately just to marry me sooner. But when you paid that $60,000 for Laura, at that moment, wasn't she more important than marrying me? Ryan froze. He grabbed my hand and hurriedly explained. There was nothing between me and her. I just thought she was pitiful. You know, back then I was looked down on too. I rushed to class in my delivery uniform and was pointed at by roommates from wealthy families. They even wouldn't let me into the classroom. That feeling was especially humiliating. He gripped my hand tightly, his voice hoarse. I only saw the shadow of my past self in her. That was all. I've already resigned. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. She's far away in U City and won't disturb our lives. It was my fault before. I won't side with outsiders again. So he knew everything. I sighed and pulled my hand out. Ryan, I've been assigned to Europe. I'll be stationed there for at least 3 years. And I've already bought a home there. Ryan froze, his face instantly turning deathly pale. Chapter 11. I boarded the plane to Europe as scheduled. Work was very busy. So busy that my feet barely touched the ground. Every day, I spun nonstop between meeting rooms and clients, without even having time to adjust to the time difference. There was a young, handsome Italian guy with curly hair in the department. The third time he asked me to go watch the sunset in Tuscany. I raised my head from the report and answered him seriously. Thank you. But right now I only want 8 hours of sleep. He blinked and refused to give up. What about the cafe downstairs? Then, 10 minutes. I promise I won't delay your lunch break. But at the company entrance, I unexpectedly saw Ryan. He was carrying 2 large bags of daily necessities, travel-worn and dusty. What are you doing here? He smiled. I came to see whether you're taking good care of yourself. But I was no longer the lonely little girl overseas from 10 years ago. Back then, I had rushed forward and hugged him. Now, I took one step back and spoke faintly. There's no need for you to trouble yourself. Curly hair did not understand Chinese and curiously leaned over. Is this the live-in housekeeper you hired? Ryan's face darkened, and he answered in English. I'm her fiancé. I corrected him. Ex-fiancé. Curly hair's eyes lit up, and he spouted nonsense with a serious face. There's an old Chinese saying, a qualified ex should be as good as dead. Ryan ignored him and stared straight at me like a male ghost. Fiona, this time, let me be the one to travel back and forth. I'll fly here to see you every week. I've also applied for an overseas project here. In 3 months, I'll be able to come over. The project will last about half a year. And after it ends, I'll find a way to stay here. I'm also looking into the work visa. We don't have to be long distance anymore. I'm also contacting sellers for the house in Jing City. Wait for me, okay? Before You were always the one who came to me. This time, let me chase you. I shook my head. There's no need. My position requires frequent business trips, and I'll be stationed abroad from time to time. Besides, I've realized that without you, my life has become much freer. I no longer have to count the number of times we meet on my fingers, and I no longer have to work nonstop just to save up vacation days. During holidays, I can go wherever I want and stay as long as I want. Work, friends, travel, fitness, my schedule is already too full to fit everything in. There's no time left for you. Ryan froze slightly, as if he had not heard the last sentence. It's fine. You do your work. I'll adapt to your schedule. I just want to be closer to you and stay by your side. I no longer paid him any attention and walked past him. If he did not mind being tired, then let him fly. In any case, my life would never stop for him again. Chapter 12. As the new year approached, I flew home and stopped by the private hospital on the way to visit my leader. When I went to the consultation room to confirm the situation, I had just reached the door when I heard a familiar voice from inside. Ryan, Fiona isn't willing to suffer with you, but I am. Laura straightened her back, her gaze burning. I've already resigned from my job in U City. If the two of us work hard together, we'll definitely be able to establish ourselves. I'm not afraid of hardship, and I'm not afraid of starting over. We're the ones who are the same kind of people. We both relied on ourselves and walked step by step to where we are today. A rich young lady like Fiona has been used to everything going smoothly. She only thinks about enjoying life. But I won't. I can share hardship and happiness with you, Ryan said coldly. If you're not sick, leave. If you are sick, don't register under my name either. Don't appear in front of me. I have nothing to do with you. Laura's voice trembled. Ryan, I quit my job and came here to find you. How can you treat me like this? Ryan waved his hand impatiently. You resigned because you were disciplined yourself. Don't make it sound as if it was for me. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Sharing hardship and happiness? When I was suffering, Fiona was the one who was always by my side. Now that I have ability, you come running over and say you want to share hardship and happiness with me? Don't you think that's ridiculous? Laura's face turned pale, and she refuted him aggrievedly. I'm not the way you think I am. I'm not after anything from you. I can earn money myself. I have hands and feet. I have my dignity. I just like you. Is it because my family background is poor that I don't even have the right to like someone? Ryan sneered coldly. Heh, your pride is chasing after a man who has a girlfriend? Hurry up and get lost. Don't force me to call security. Laura was choked speechless, unwilling to accept it. Then why did you help me before? Wasn't it because you liked me? Ryan sneered. I saw that you were pitiful, so I casually helped you, like helping a stray cat or dog by the roadside. I knocked on the door and politely interrupted. Sorry. May I ask if the examination report for the patient in bed 3 is out? Ryan's expression changed instantly, and he hurriedly stepped forward 2 steps. Fiona, I have nothing to do with her. I didn't know she was coming. Before I could speak, Laura's self-esteem had already shattered all over the floor. She shouted at the top of her lungs. I won't allow you to humiliate me like this. She suddenly rushed forward and grabbed Ryan's sleeve, crying and shouting as she refused to let it go. The commotion startled the patients and nurses in the corridor. Someone took out a phone and started filming. Laura simply sat on the floor and cried. You played with me and abandoned me. Back then, weren't you nice to me because you liked me? Why are you acting so noble now? The scene completely spun out of control. Private hospitals cared a great deal about reputation, so Ryan was fired. Misfortunes never come singly. The house he had previously bought at a high price suddenly plummeted in market value. 2/3 of his down payment was lost, and the monthly mortgage pressure was huge. He wanted to list the house and sell it, but the market had fallen off a cliff, and no one was willing to take over. Even worse, the farce from that day spread throughout the local medical circle. Private hospitals cared about reputation, and no one was willing to hire him. His job was gone, the house was stuck in his hands, and his savings had been sunk into it too. Ryan's many years of effort could be considered destroyed overnight. Chapter 13. Before leaving, I went to a temple to fulfill my vow and give thanks for the smooth progress of this work. Along the way, I also made a wish that everything would go as I hoped in the coming year. The fiery red prayer ribbons fluttered loudly in the wind, like countless blazing flames. I finished writing my wish, but when I was about to tie it to the railing, I paused. A prayer ribbon was blown loose by the wind and happened to hit my palm. Like a cat affectionately rubbing against my hand, a familiar handwriting entered my eyes. Ending the long-distance relationship is not the end of the story, but the beginning of our life together. For the rest of my life, it will all be you. To 20-year-old Fiona. Written by Ryan on this day 10 years later. There was not the slightest bitterness or heaviness in my heart. I calmly let go. The prayer ribbon rose with the wind like a kite whose string had snapped. It circled in the wind and flew into the distance. I turned and left, but I saw Ryan standing quietly behind me. No one knew how long he had been standing there, across the fiery red prayer ribbons. We looked at each other quietly. His eyes were filled with deep sorrow, as if it was about to drift away with the prayer ribbon. He opened his mouth. Thousands of words finally turned into only one sentence. As we brushed past each other, it sounded softly, "I regret it." I did not look back, nor did I stop. I strode forward. The roar of the airplane swept past the clouds. A new life was about to begin.